"Sir, this is a private event," the security officer said, enunciating each syllable like a dismissal. "Look at his shoes." Another voice laughed, polished, amused. "This isn't a charity line. You're tracking mud on imported tile." The ballroom erupted with soft, champagne-fed chuckles. Heads turned, phones came out, cameras hovered. On the gleaming floor of the Blue Harbor Country Club, plates of caviar trembled as the rich and powerful leaned back. Not threatened, just entertained. A man in weathered denim stood in the doorway, work-stained hands, dirt under his nails, broken leather shoes peeling at the sides. "What part of exclusive do you not understand?" the event host asked, smiling with teeth that sparkled like wealth itself. "Farmers don't belong where deals are made." "Go home before someone calls the cops." The man adjusted his cap politely and said nothing. And in that brittle silence, where humiliation was currency and everyone paid attention, a promise quietly formed. They would remember this night, just not the way they expected. Blue Harbor Country Club was a fortress of glass and self-importance. Once a year, the Harbor Investment Summit gathered the wealth circles of Ravenbrook. Bankers, oil heirs, CEOs, senators, and the whispering class who profited on what other people grew, mined, built, or bled for. The man in broken shoes wasn't on the guest list. He had walked 5 miles from the bus station. He had stood outside for an hour rehearsing a borrowed speech. He held a folder filled with hand-drawn charts. And yet to them, he was a spectacle, a disruption, a punchline wearing the scent of the fields instead of cologne. A senator whispered loudly enough for everyone to hear, "Is he delivering vegetables or just lost?" A hedge fund manager sipped champagne. "If this is the competition for farmland acquisitions, we'll be trillionaires by noon." Even the musicians paused as an event coordinator approached him with a brittle professional smile. "Sir, this event is for stakeholders and investors only. We cannot accommodate you." The man nodded, opened his folder, and quietly tried to speak. "I have a proposal about soil rejuvenation." The host cut him off with a raised hand. "My friend, the only soil relevant tonight is the golf course outside. Security. Escort him to the gate, gently." The audience clapped, as if humiliation were entertainment. Phones filmed him as he left the ballroom. Some would post clips with captions like, "Local farmer crashes billionaire summit," or "Dirt guy shows up to Blue Harbor." None of them would delete those posts later, not even when their world flipped. His name was Adam Rowan. Not that anyone at the event bothered to ask. For 3 generations, the Rowan family worked a modest patch of land on the outskirts of Ravenbrook. Fields of soy, wheat, and a small orchard of old apple trees that bloomed like poetry every spring. But the world changed. Corporate mega-farms swallowed small plots whole. Seed prices skyrocketed from companies that monopolized genetics. Land taxes rose. Banks stopped lending to unscalable agricultural assets. Weather patterns became unpredictable. Floods in June, droughts in September. Neighbors sold their land to developers, one by one. Every sale tore a piece from Adam's chest. When his father died, Adam inherited the farm and the debt that came with it. But he also inherited something rarer, a notebook. 40 years of observations, experiments, soil tests, rotations, grafting hybrids, compost trials. Handwritten calculations that would bore a stranger but electrify a scientist. Adam had never gone to college. He couldn't afford it. But he had read every agricultural journal the county library carried. He studied soil microbiomes before they became TED Talks. He experimented with regenerative techniques before they became Napa Valley buzzwords. He solved problems with his hands, his sweat, and the quiet intelligence of someone ignored by the modern world. His proposal, the one he tried to pitch, was simple and brilliant. He had discovered a technique to restore dead soil in half the time, and at 1/10 the cost of existing regenerative methods. But he didn't have capital. He didn't have a platform. He had science, and no microphone. So he walked into the lion's den, hoping for investment. Instead, he got laughter, phone cameras, and the taste of humiliation. 2 weeks later, when the memory of the incident had already faded for the wealthy, fate cracked a door. A journalist from the Ravenbrook Gazette, young, hungry, curious, messaged Adam. Her name was Lena Marquez, and she had filmed the entire ordeal at Blue Harbor, not to mock him, but because something about the dirt on his hands and the quiet dignity in his eyes didn't match the punchline everyone else saw. "I watched you that night," she said during their first interview at the farm. "You didn't look embarrassed. You looked determined." Adam shrugged softly. "Embarrassment is when you care about how other people see you. I care about what's in the soil. That's it." Lena asked to see his research. Hours passed, then days. She interviewed agricultural professors. She compared techniques. She checked patents. She confirmed data. Then she wrote an article titled, "Farmer Invents Breakthrough Soil Tech. Billionaires Laughed at Him." It went viral. Not overnight, nothing real does, but steadily, like a spark finding dry grass. Ecotech forums picked it up. University researchers emailed. One professor from MIT asked for samples. A regenerative farming collective requested a virtual demonstration. Still, Adam didn't profit, not yet. The wealthy had mocked him publicly, but academia moved slowly. Tech moved cautiously. Investors moved skeptically. He didn't need attention. He needed capital. The breakthrough came not from venture capital, but from crisis. Ravenbrook hit a drought that summer. Small farms failed first. Then big farms called emergency meetings. Then the landowners realized dead soil doesn't yield. Chemical fertilizer can't save dust. Money cannot make rain. Blue Harbor's elites began losing millions. Land values collapsed. Developers paused projects. The senator who mocked him held press conferences about agricultural resilience without understanding a word of what he said. And then, one of the largest commercial farms in the county contacted Adam. Their fields had turned sterile. Their irrigation was failing. Their investors were panicking. Adam walked the fields in the same broken shoes they mocked. He touched the dust. He measured the pH. He examined the microbial die-off. Then he made an offer they initially laughed at. "I can fix this land, but I don't work for wages. I work for equity." When they asked for his credentials, he pointed at the dead fields. "My credentials are everywhere you failed." The boardroom fell silent. They brought him in. He restored their soil. Not magically, not overnight. Through science, his father started and he finished. Within a year, yields doubled, then tripled. Adam's equity translated into ownership. Ownership translated into leverage. Leverage translated into opportunity. By the time investors realized the scope of his innovation, Adam controlled 11,000 acres of profitable land. Agriculture funds tried to buy him out. He refused. VC firms tried to acquire his patents. He licensed instead. He built a cooperative to help small farmers at cost. No one saw that move coming. The billionaire class whispered his name in boardrooms now, in the same tone they reserved for market disruptors and unpredictable geniuses. They didn't know how to categorize him. He was not one of them. He was not beneath them. He was something new. A farmer who understood leverage, land, and science better than they understood money. The following year, the Blue Harbor Country Club hosted its summit again. New investments, new suits, same self-importance. Security checked every name at the door. They didn't check Adam's shoes this time. They didn't have to. He was announced, formally, by the event coordinator who once dismissed him. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Adam Rowan, landowner, technologist, and founder of Rowan Soil Systems." The applause was stiff and confused. Adam walked across the ballroom, still wearing broken shoes, patched but not replaced. The host who mocked him last year sat in the front row. His hedge fund had since invested heavily in farmland. Farmland Adam now controlled. The host forced a smile. "So good to see you again, Adam. I hope you've been well." Adam adjusted the mic and replied, "I've been working. Soil doesn't fix itself." Polite laughter rippled, more respectful this time. He presented his research, his yields, his cooperative model. Investors leaned forward, hungry. Academics nodded. Journalists scribbled. Then came the reversal. An aide whispered urgently into the host's ear. His face drained. Blue Harbor's owner was selling the property. Unprofitable. Bad projections. The host cleared his throat. "Ladies and gentlemen, it seems Blue Harbor will be changing hands." Adam stepped toward him. "I know," he said softly. "I bought it this morning." Silence detonated across the ballroom. Phones recorded, mouths hung open. Someone dropped a champagne flute. The host blinked hard. You bought the country club." Adam nodded. "Along with 8,400 surrounding acres, the farmland you all called worthless." The host swallowed. "Why?" Adam looked at his shoes, then at the audience. "Because the soil deserves better owners." He let the weight hang. Then, "And because last year someone told me farmers didn't belong where deals are made. So now, I make the deals." Laughter exploded. Not mockery this time, but awe. The same room that once humiliated him now applauded him. Not because he was rich, but because he proved them wrong without adopting their cruelty. Adam didn't replace his shoes for the press photos. He kept them as a reminder that dignity is not measured in polish or leather or marble floors. Blue Harbor became a research institute for regenerative farming. Students studied soil where bankers once traded futures. Farmers walked through halls once reserved for senators and CEOs. Lena, the journalist, became head of communications at his institute. Small farmers kept their land. Young scientists found funding. The soil healed. And the wealthy? Some learned humility. Some learned patience. Some learned nothing. But no one forgot the farmer in broken shoes. Never underestimate the quiet worker. They are building revolutions you cannot see. If this narrative resonated with you, consider empowering the real-world Adams out there. The underestimated innovators, the quiet operators, the people dismissed at first glance. Share your perspective in the comments. Hit subscribe to stay aligned on high-value storytelling, and help us scale a community that champions resilience, equity, and enlightened leadership.